Alright, now we're going to move on to Epcot. Epcot, of course, is the signature giant silver ball science technology in the world. Now, our day started off super early. Like, our first ride was like at 10:15, so we're already waking up like 8 a.m. We're already super tired, because if you guys know my normal sleep schedule, I normally don't go to bed till like 3 a.m. and sleep till about 11 p.m. Not a terrible sleep schedule, but not a great sleep schedule. But as soon as we're in there, we go straight for Soarin'. Okay, so Soarin', if you guys remember the original version, they go from Walt Disney World to Disneyland. Well, no, this is around the world. Like, this is like the full planet. As soon as we take off, Patrick Warburton is the freaking flight attendant for the whole freaking thing. So it's really weird seeing the tick walk you through flight procedure. But as soon as we take off, we're over Mount Everest, and we can smell and feel the cold when a killer whale jumps out of the water in the Arctic. When we go to the Arctic next, it splashes water in your face. When we flew over India, you could smell the flowers and the fragrances. When we were over Africa, you could smell the freaking dirt. Like, this was such an immersive ride, and you feel like you're flying. Literally feel like you're flying over the world like a bird and experiencing everything like a bird. And it's so fantastic and so great. If you haven't been on it, you need to go. It's fantastic. And one of my dear friends, I'm going to call her a dear friend because we're still kind of new to friends, but we're past the point of acquaintances, which is A, makes me super happy, and B, I don't want to like push closest friends because we've only really gone out a few times. Sierra, if you see this, I'm sorry if I sound creepy. But she used to work for the ride, and I now see what all the fuss was about. I can see why you were so amazed by being able to work there. Oh my god, that ride is fantastic. After Soarin', we had another ride almost immediately, and we did Spaceship Earth, which is where you basically, it's a sitting ride. You go through slowly, you watch the evolution of man, like where we came from cavemen, and the Greek philosophy, the Egyptians, like the birth of language and science and technology and mathematics. And we're talking everything is down to the exact detail, including the woman who created the mathematical equation that launched the first men to the moon. Like, we're talking, she was a natural black woman in the animatronic flesh. But props to Disney for maintaining, you know, that historically accurate setting. Thank you. And you go through and like you get to watch your future at the end of it, and it was a cool ride. It was really cool. Chris really enjoyed it. And then our last ride was Mission Space. And the only reason I say that's so exasperated, it was so much fun. Like, I had a blast on the ride. But if you don't, you get two teams. You get the green team, which is a more conserved version of the ride. Like, it's not as harsh, it's more gentle. Whereas the orange team, you actually go through, like, it spins the ride fast enough that you're going through full G's. Like, it's pressing against your chest and stomach, you're locked into place, you're having issues pressing buttons because you're astronauts in a space simulation to fly to Mars. And it's really cool. You get a 4-person team, or if you can, you get a 4-person team, and you press buttons to activate different parts of the plane, or different parts of the rocket. Excuse me. Ooh, planes can't go to space, Jessica. I was the engineer, so my priority was hypersleep and extending of wings when we actually were about ready to touch down. And it was really cool. Like, the only downside though is that they warn you, if you start getting tunnel vision, don't close your eyes and don't look away. Focus on a singular point and try to push through. You can do it. Well, it hits me, like, as soon as we're going full rotation, like, it's going as fast as it's gonna go, I feel like if there's any like sensation of your brain going to mush and like complete darkness shrouds your sight, that is the exact thing that happened at that moment. And Jessica just sat there like, oh shit, they're gonna have to carry me out of the ride. Now, given I trucked through, I made an imaginary point at the center of the screen, and I looked at it the entire time and just tried to focus on it. I was like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And I did. I actually did really good. The only downside is that after I got off the ride, I did not feel super awesome. So that kind of put a little damper on things for about like an hour. It's Disney World. But one of the really awesome experiences that happened at Epcot is, if you've ever been familiar with the Disney Channel show Jessie, the kids from that show are now starring in their own series called Bunked, where they go back to the camp that their family, or that their parents met at. And it's like this really cool, like, interesting plot, and the kids are had to go from, like, you know, high society to drab and camping, because apparently that's bad. I haven't heard the premise, and I feel really bad. I just know it exists. But it seemed like they were filming an episode while they were there, because Peyton List was there. And Peyton List, if you've seen the show, plays his daughter Emma Ross. Now, me and Chris actually watched a couple episodes of Jessie when we had cable TV, because we actually thought it was pretty funny, and the main character's name is Jessie, so of course I'm going to watch, because I can be a little narcissistic sometimes. But she was all, if you've ever seen her, like in photos, like even when you watch her on the show, she plays kind of the uppity big sister. But she's really as nice as she looks. Like, she has a very sweet face, and she's incredibly talented, and super, she was so sweet and so kind. She was super welcoming to all the little kids who came up to her. She handled herself with grace and dignity. And I just originally just wanted to go over there and just be like, hey, you're doing a great job. I just want to tell you that I really admire what you're doing, and I can't wait to see what else you have to come. I just really just wanted to compliment her. I didn't want anything drastic, but of course my father-in-law, who's a photographer, was like, let's get you a photo, let's get a photo. So me is just like, I don't want to bother him more than they already am, because, you know, I'm a 24-year-old woman geeking out over another show that's aimed towards children. But they were really sweet and very kind. I actually got the main actor, I guess Emma's love interest in Bunked. He was there filming, and he also was in the photo as well, who was also super kind. I wish I knew his name. I'm sorry. I only know Peyton because I actually watched the show. But he was also really, really cool and really kind, and they were all a fantastic team, and they were so nice. I had to brag. Then after we did all the space rides and all that cool stuff, we actually ended up visiting the different countries and had a blast. So me and Chris are going through all the countries and going through all the stuff. We took a couple pictures in France, had a nice conversation with our photographer, who happened to be named Kara, spelled with a K. So just like my best friend Kara. And it was so much fun just because of the fact of our photographer was like playing back with us and getting us to smile. We had some really great natural shots over Paris. I mean, I know it's not the real experience, but you have to admit they get pretty gosh darn close. Canada freaking reeked of maple syrup, and they sold soap that had like names like Moose Spit and Otter Sweat. And I was like, if that's not the most Canadian thing I've ever seen, I don't know what is. And then, let's see, God, we went through so many countries. China was fun. India was fantastic. Sometimes in China you can meet Mulan, and sometimes in India you can meet Jasmine. Well, it's not India. It's technically Morocco. It's complicated when it comes to the Middle Eastern side of Epcot. I don't really know how to explain it. It's mostly Moroccan, but it has some Indian flair, because they have like a bazaar that sells like some traditional and then some, you know, concept traditional based off consumerism. We went through England, which had like fish and chips. We almost bought a David Bowie print, 'cause I'm a huge David Bowie fanatic. Labyrinth has always been one of my favorite childhood movies. Jim Henson does a fantastic job with the puppetry, and just David Bowie was my first young girl crush. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. David Bowie was the beginning of my sexual awakening. But we're going through the countries, and we actually had a special dinner planned for just the two of us in Japan. Well, I actually speak a little bit of Japanese, but no more than basic conversation. So not far beyond, hi, how are you, my name is, blah, like just the very naked basics. Chapter 1, Section 1. But I did want to try and be respectful, because I'm not Japanese. I'm not of any sort of Asian descent. I have no Asian in my blood. I don't even want to say what heritage I am. I'm white. I am white. I am nowhere near the heritage, nor do I have any right to consider the culture my own. So my biggest fear was going to Japan, me growing up watching Miyazaki movies and getting introduced to Japanese culture. I didn't want to geek out too hard, because I didn't want them to think that I was trying to claim something that wasn't mine. We actually found a part of the store where they allowed you to try on kimonos. And she actually put me in a traditional festival kimono. And she tied the obi and she set up the bow and she even did my hair traditionally, and I literally felt like my 6-year-old dreams just came true, which for some of you are like, why the hell 6? Because when I was 6 years old, Jessica saw her first festival kimono and thought the girl looked like a princess and just wanted to wear one her entire life, and then she finally got to, and oh my gosh, it was fantastic, and I had my combat boots on underneath, so I even felt like myself the whole time. I thanked the girl over and over. But every time I spoke Japanese while we were in Epcot, Japan, everybody's face would light up. It's like, oh my gosh. I'm sure it's probably like incredibly strange to be in a country where they speak a language that's not your first language, but somebody there knows your first language. Like I can imagine that's probably super shocking, but also very relieving. But that was kind of the sensation I got every time I thanked them. It was mostly thank. Clara, what are you doing? She's being weird. It was always like, arigatou gozaimasu, and just, you know, just letting them know how thankful I was. But when we were at the Japanese food place, it was, I think it's just Tokyo. It didn't really have a name. But we basically sat down at one of the tables. It was kind of like a free seating kind of thing. Waitress come get us. And I picked out a Momo whiskey sour, which has like a Japanese whiskey and then like peach schnapps. So double the alcohol. It was actually really smooth. So whatever they say about Japanese whiskeys and sake, we found out being super smooth is absolutely true. Super smooth. Because Chris got the sake. He got the rack of lamb meal, so I know it's, you know, not very Japanese, but I got the chirashi bowl, which is basically, if you don't know what chirashi bowl is, a sushi bowl, so to speak. Like how a burrito bowl is, it's basically a sushi bowl. It's like overall all the sushi bits on a bed of rice. And it was so good. It had seaweed salad, eel, tuna, salmon, yellowtail, tuna roe, and tuna roe is fish eggs, just a heads up. And there was like also like a fruit, I think. It was very subtle, very mild tasting fruit. It wasn't very strong in flavor, but it was also on there. But their seaweed salad, I kept going back like every other bite just to get a little bit more. I ended up not eating the whole thing, and I felt super bad because I know in Japan it's like a great sign of respect to eat all your food. But this was like an American-sized chirashi bowl, because I'm used to, you know, chirashi bowl. I got a chirashi bowl. But everything was really good. We had a great time, but I was also a little tipsy, so as we're leaving Epcot, we see the wait time for Baymax is down to 10 minutes. So we're like, you know what, let's go meet Baymax before the park closes. So I'm already really happy to be there. Chris is talking to the couple behind us. They're geeking out and having a blast. Clara! So I'm just sitting there, just starstruck. I'm ready to meet Baymax. Well, his suit actually blinks. And I'm sure most of you are like, oh, that's creepy. But I'm like, oh my god, Baymax blinks. Oh my god. Well, I'm, you know, like I said, I'm a little tipsy. It's our turn. And I come around the corner. And without skipping a beat, all I see is Baymax go right for the hug. And I was like, I'm so glad to finally meet you. And I hugged him, and he was warm. Like, he was legitimately, like, actually, like, comfortably warm. But, like, it's not so warm where I would think, like, the actor inside must be uncomfortable, but, like, comfortable warm of, like, this is, like, a relaxing warm. This is, like, refreshing shower meets summer, like, afternoon. Odd. Like, just, geek mode.